Hello and welcome to the Lucas-Nuelle webinar weeks. We're now in our third week, and this week we're having a look at LabSoft and LabSoft in the cloud and distance learning. So this webinar is all about distance learning. My name's Daniel. I'm here with my colleague Della.
Hi.
And we're going to have a look today at distance learning. So could you just tell me, what do we mean by distance learning here? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, sure. So this is our second time presenting this topic, distance learning, and what we actually are going to show you here is basically one suggestion on how to provide your students with a way in order to be able to perform a lab session. So as we know, like the coronavirus has basically affected a lot of our lives, and the students who are missing a lot of labs right now, they should not be going through this. And we as Lucas-Nuelle, we wanted to just provide one solution that could fit to some people, could not also fit to everyone. But when we suggested, it gives them one opportunity to be able to provide for their students.
Okay, so something different for the webinars today is not actually a product. It's not something that we've developed. We're going to show you some of the generic tools that are out there in order for you to offer this solution. So how does this work, for example? Is it the students on site? Can they be at home?
No, not really. It doesn't matter where the students are. So the students will only need internet connection and a device. It doesn't matter which device. It can be an Android device, a tablet, an iPhone or a laptop or anything. And they need a stable internet connection. So what we are presenting in this video specifically is the platform Zoom. Mm-hmm. You can do it with any other platform. We know, as a matter of fact, that Teams also has a good distance remote control option, and many other platforms. We're not going to name all of them, of course, but yeah, so.
Okay,
yeah.
So you've tested Zoom particularly. That one works. We know that Teams does, but we personally haven't tested it down to the degree, but we've heard from other people that it worked. Of course, there could be many other platforms out there that do this, but we're just giving you some concrete examples that do work. I know you've also created a document which explains this step by step as well. So how will we?
Yeah, so the document is pretty simple. We have just said step by step what the teacher or lab assistant needs to do. So one important key factor that the people who are watching this webinar should know is that one person who is the lab assistant or the teacher has to be always present at the lab station.
Okay.
He has to give access to the students, and by access I mean the remote control over the mouse, and he has to wire up the system. Basically, this is how it works.
You obviously need someone there to turn it on, to make any changes
also
to the hardware.
Also for safety reasons.
Safety reasons, of course.
So it's really important that one person needs to be present at the lab station. And yeah, so in this particular case, when we use Zoom, we have used the Zoom Pro account. So it's the paid account, because there are some differences with the free version. You don't have as much options when you have the free version of Zoom. For example, if you have more than 2 participants, your meeting time is limited by 40 minutes.
So Zoom, obviously, the whole world is using Zoom at the moment, so things have changed there. I mean, you've done this video a couple of months ago, so a lot has changed in the meantime there. You'll have to check in detail personally for the pricing, which licenses work, because maybe the information has changed even in just that short time. Okay, so we spoke about the students would then be at home, for example, and it's a way for them to still interact with the hardware, correct? So it's not just watching someone else. The person at the institute can give remote access to various students, one at a time.
Yes. So our ideology in Lucas-Nuelle is blended learning. We don't want the students to only see the content in the LabSoft course or the ELA course, Interactive Lab Assistant. We also want the students to have a feeling of the hardware, how it looks like, how does a photovoltaic system work. So for that to be able to possible in a remote way, we need the lab assistant to basically show everything in detail, have the cameras For example, if you're having more than one cameras, you can zoom it in on different angles of the hardware, or if you have the switcher that we are using, you can just switch easily between them. It's just up to you how you're going to improve the quality of your experience. But in general, it works. Yeah.
Okay. So you just mentioned something there, which unless you're into streaming and audio visual, switcher. So that's actually a device which can switch cameras on and off, different cameras. How do people know about that? How would they decide what equipment they need to get this done?
I mean, there are a lot of YouTube videos.
But you've got that in your list.
Yes,
you've created a list of all the equipment that we've put together. All the equipment we use is actually on the list. Any equipment will work. We're just giving you concrete examples of what work. And so that's also on the list. At the end of this week, earlier next week, there'll be an email sent out to everyone that's registered here, so you can, and we'll send the recording of this webinar, but there'll be a link to the YouTube video and also to a link to the document as well. So we'll send that out to you.
Absolutely. The video that we are going to show is posted in YouTube since today. So you can go on our English YouTube channel and watch the video. Also, if you missed it later or you want to just get back to it later, you can always get back to it. One more thing that I wanted to mention before we go to the video is that this solution is thought for the set of hardware that are not possible to just lend out, to move that easily, like the power engineering, Industry 4.0. But we also have another system called the UniTrain. You can lend it to the students. The students can take it with them. That's basically another webinar topic, which we had it yesterday, I suppose. Correct?
Exactly. We'll play that again. Well, Friday morning, I think it is. Friday morning. Yes, Friday morning we have LabSoft in the cloud again. Yes. We've had a lot of webinars over the last 3 weeks, so it's but that's right. So the larger equipment, or you can take the UniTrain home. Just as a reminder, Q&A, you'll see the tab here, Q&A. There's also chat. We're already getting a lot of people from around the world, Canada, Netherlands, Egypt, Croatia. Thanks for joining in again. We just got Paul here has told us that another option often used is YouTube Live. Now, I think we'll see it in the video. I don't think that would be an option, because what we're actually doing here is achieving remote desktop control. So you're giving students from outside access to control the computer in the lab. So you'll see that in the video. I'm pretty sure YouTube doesn't allow that, but we'll have a look. And yeah, as I said, leave any questions that are there. Sorry, there's a few chats coming in, but perhaps let's just take a look at the video. Absolutely. And we'll go through any questions when we get back. Okay, thanks.
What I want to show you today is one of our approaches to the challenges that we are facing at this moment, especially regarding distance learning. What I'm presenting is a remote control operation of our hardware together with the integration of Zoom. This solution is mainly thought for the set of equipment which are not easily portable, for instance, smart grid, microgrid, electrical machines, or Industry 4.0. But as you can already imagine, you can adapt this solution to any sort of system that you might already have. What you need in order to be able to perform what we are showing here is at least one person who is present at the workstation, at least a pro account of Zoom with all the necessary features for the webinar. To find out how we have provided our webinar set of equipment, there is a separated document which we have provided and you can have access to. Similarly, if you're unfamiliar with the platform of Zoom, or you would still like to receive some help on setting up an appointment for your webinar or your meeting, how to set up your polls, how to create your waiting rooms, and all these necessary features, there is a separated video which you can also take a look in. Enjoy. So let us begin with starting the Zoom meeting that I have previously prepared. You can go ahead and start your meeting about a half an hour before, as there are always some people who will be joining a little bit earlier. As you can see, I have created a waiting room.
You can simply create the waiting room according to your own preferences. Once the meeting is started, you can let the participants in one by one or all together. To be able to let the participants remotely control the systems, we are going to join all these systems that we want to take under experiment into the meeting. For this, just log into the Zoom meeting in each table. So we are going to open the corresponding LabSoft course and share the screen with the participants. Our suggestion is that the attendees prepare themselves with the theory that is given here and all the necessary background beforehand. The lab instructor or the assistant will have to set up the experiment table at this point. Use the animations in the LabSoft course in order to achieve that. At this point, the instructor has to give access to a designated student in order to control the wind power plant remotely from home. For this experiment, the lab instructor is manually adjusting the speed so that the students can perform synchronization to the grid. The students can one by one be given the access to remotely control all the instruments in the software and therefore control the hardware. As you can see, the experiment synchronization of wind power plant to the grid with such a high timing sensitivity can as well be correctly performed with just a good internet connection. After these students have performed the experiments, you can now evaluate all the participants together in order to have a good understanding on how they were able to learn the concept of the experiment by starting the polls. As we said in the previous video, you can copy and paste all the LabSoft questions into your polls while preparing your Zoom meeting. This way, you're able to get an overview of everyone's results and also know each individual's performance in a much quicker way. Similarly, you can perform the same procedure on any other experiment. Here we are showing the same method on pump storage power system. The remote control operation allows the students to control any software that is connected to our hardware. In this case, the student is controlling the SCADA viewer software. As you might have watched in our previous video, LabSoft Goes Cloud, we have shown other solutions for portable equipments, namely the UniTrain. However, no different than any other setup, students can remotely control these systems as well. Here, the student is performing an experiment on the asynchronous machine in a UniTrain course.
Oh, where's it gone?
Done. Okay, great to have you back. I hope you enjoyed the video. In the meanwhile, please use our Q&A tab to write in your questions.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm just having we've got quite a few questions coming in here, trying to get that organized. Okay, so I hope that's given you a good idea of how it's achievable. I don't think we're trying to say this is going to replace having students in the lab. This is kind of giving you some options while especially Corona social distancing is occurring.
Yeah.
I think in the video we've seen some, it was grid synchronization.
Correct.
Which is actually quite tricky to do
Yes.
even live. So you can see that the connection is quite good there.
Yeah.
So what does it say about the internet connection though? I mean, there's some, Zoom gives you some
requirements.
Exactly.
I mean, according to Zoom, you need an internet as fast as 3 megabytes per second, but I think that is too low.
Yeah.
I think you need much more.
I think definitely you definitely need to get as best internet connection as you can. So we tested it and different people on mobile devices, on Wi-Fi, direct connection. It wasn't always perfect, but it still managed to work okay.
Right. But I think it should be enough for just being able to view the image that is coming through, but for giving the remote control access to the students, if you don't want to have any lagging, you probably need a better internet connection than
Absolutely. Okay, so if any of you've got any questions in regarding to what was the particulars there, so there was some tricky things. You're saying that there was the various equipment stands, they were logged in as participants within Zoom, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you give, is it Spotlight? Is that where the Spotlight would then be on the wind power section or on the whatever the different systems were, and then you can then give remote access to the students.
Yeah,
right?
so whatever, if you have so many participants into the meeting, so what we used in the video was a Zoom meeting. Zoom also has webinars. That is for more like many participants type of event. So for a classroom, I would think the meeting option will be a better option. And there you can have the students also turn on their video and microphone so that the interactiveness can work, because you don't want to have just one person, the lab assistant, be talking all the time. You want to make sure that the students are following and that the students don't fall asleep during the lab session, right?
Students don't do that.
Okay, but still, I think it's a good idea to just have these things, these procedures prepared before you start the lab meeting to make the better experience for your students, to make less time being wasted during the lab session.
Okay, and there is some preparation required beforehand, right? All of the polls that you created.
Exactly.
How did you get those again?
It's also an option in Zoom. In many other platforms, you can also create polls. So what we used polls for was that the questions in LabSoft, we wanted to see if the students all answer these questions at the same time, and how many of those students can answer correctly. So in order to get a evaluation of all these answers, we use the polls.
Okay. So, sorry, just had an emergency come in at the moment. Okay, so that was the polls. That was from LabSoft, all taken from there, the questions.
Yes,
and
we
answers.
just copied and pasted into the different question sections and made basically like a questionnaire. Once you activate the questionnaire, then everyone will get it and everyone will answer it. You can make it anonymously, but it doesn't make sense for a classroom. You want to know how your students learned so that you can evaluate them.
And you're able to get that at the end of the webinar, you get an Excel, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And that will give you the answers, who answered what within the polls and all that.
I think that's really good for evaluation at the end.
Yep.
Most platforms do offer this kind of automatically created reports, I know, as a matter of fact, the platform we are using right now also does something like that. Zoom does it. Yeah. You must, I think, experiment for yourself, see what is more important for you, and then accordingly decide which platform you're going for. And what I find really good with Zoom is that basically many universities and schools right now are already using it. So it wouldn't be much more investment for them. If they already have it, they can just integrate it to their labs. And also from the cost point of view, if you just get the normal Pro account, it doesn't cost that much comparably. And not many people need the webinar add-ons. The webinar add-ons are the ones that make it more expensive, and not everyone needs it.
But still, even the webinar add-ons aren't that expensive.
No,
so
it's normal.
So the interruption there was apparently Q&A isn't working. We've just sent through a test question. Everything seemed to be okay. But if you have any questions, chat seems to be working in the very least. So perhaps send us if you do have any questions, send it in chat. We'll still see it as well. I've just tried to restart Q&A. We had a test question come through, so it should be working. Okay, question here. How about instrumentation and measurement? Is it fast or is there a delay?
I'm not sure what they mean by this question.
For example, in the video that you showed with the grid synchronization, we had one of our students actually clicking through to do the grid synchronization. Yeah. There is some delay. Of course, it's not exact speed of light, but there is. It wasn't much. It's not like 10 seconds or anything like that. Maybe half a second delay. So you might not be able to just click through like you would in real life, but you can at least go through a bit slower. I
specifically chose that experiment to show in the video that it works, because even in real life, for the grid synchronization, you need to be pretty exact and click on the mouse like at the same point where it like makes all the necessary requirements for synchronizing to the grid. And when I showed it in the video that it works with our internet connection, I hope that, I mean, it all depends on the customer's internet connection, how well the internet connection is, but I think it should work. It's not as perfect as in-person lab, of course, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's really about trying to give some exactly some options for the students to have some sort of communication and feedback with the equipment.
Yes.
Okay, Q&A. Okay, we've got another one. Q&A is working. So Gerald, might have to refresh your browser. That's quite often is the case. Just refresh your browser and sometimes you get back full functionality. Still no questions though. Would you like to give us do you have anything else more to say? Is it particular to electrical engineering, or is it? It's basically anything. Yeah. Lucas-Nuelle uses the same e-learning. LabSoft is the basis. LabSoft is really the heart and soul of this company. That's what everything is based on. So, and it'll work across any of those.
And what we showed in the video was that each of the experiment tables had their own PC, and they were all logged in as participants into the meeting. And that's how you gave access in each PC to different students. So what you could also do, if you're just covering one topic at a time, you could just basically have that instrument logged in, so basically connected up to your main webinar PC or meeting PC, and you basically, all you need to do is to share your screen and then allow the students to control it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll just go through a couple other questions that we've had in the past, because you're also quiet. We've either done a great job answering all the questions, or you're a bit too shy today. So we've got some questions we had from our last time.
I think it's the first one.
I guess so too.
I mean, considering that it's our second time covering this topic and it's gonna be repeated again.
Exactly.
I'm pretty happy.
Okay, so we just got some feedback here. Thanks for the hint. Refresh the browser and now everything's working. Perfect. Okay, good question that we had back in the last time we did this was, if I only have one camera, can I show close-up details or more of a overview of the whole equipment? I mean, that really is up to what you want to show. What is every piece of equipment, every experiment is going to be a little bit different. But the equipment, so we've actually been really impressed with the equipment we're using, and that's the switcher. And you don't need, what I found really interesting is you can't plug a camera directly into a computer. And that's what this switcher encoder is, that kind of makes the picture available for the computer to use as an image. And so that was really interesting to find out and see how it works. But we've had multiple camera angles, for example. You can have something directly on the, so if you're using machine benches where you're trying to look at the drives, you can see when that's working, or you can have it on the hardware on the screen. You can even share screen from the different computers as well.
I find it also good when you have multiple cameras. You can have the close-up on the devices from different angles, and the students can really get the feeling of how it actually. I mean, if they don't have the chance to come and like get their hands on the instrument, maybe it's not a bad idea to invest in more than one camera. And for my own experience, we've also done a couple of how it's called in Betriebnahme trainings with the customer, and it also worked. Like we had to perform, basically we had one person who was with the customer, like present at their station, but we had basically our product manager present here, and he was basically showing them the devices, the same devices that they have on our side, and they were basically experimenting. It's all about like teamwork. It's not going to be just like one person talking straight into the camera and that's it. It's not going to be like a boring classroom. It has to be teamwork, interactive, and it has worked. We have experienced it with our product managers, and we actually have a good feeling about it.
Okay. So that's been really good, being able to do that training there as well. So we're going to start, the questions are starting to come through now. Can you provide the switcher you are using? Can we sell that?
Of course.
We can. We just give you the list in literally the part number. I think you go down into the part number. We actually have a problem because we've had so much training come up now. So I think last week we had 3 webinars running at the exact same time. So 2 trainings, webinar in French, for example, a customer presentation in Finland, and a training in another country, India, I think it was. Sure. But we had 3 running the exact same time. So we've run out of equipment. So we're trying to buy equipment ourselves. The whole world has run out of webcams and encoders. So there's actually we've got a 5-week waiting time for our next piece of equipment. So that's how popular it's become, and we definitely see the advantages of it. We're not, kind of like what we're saying here, we don't want to replace in-person training, but we feel that we can give a better service much quicker, and as you were saying before, person in front of their hardware, someone here in front of their hardware.
Yes. I mean, the reason why we actually started making this video was because we were doing some webinars and the customer was emailing us, contacting us. How are you doing it? Can I do the same for my students? I want to know like some information, what type of instruments you are using. And then we thought like, okay, then we make just a video for them to just, it's okay. They can exactly copy that and just use our information. It's our job to make the customer feel comfortable. If they already have the instruments, they should not just have it sitting down for such a long time. We have no idea how long the situation is going to take. And it's better to do something rather than nothing at all.
Absolutely. And some countries are more harder hit than others, obviously, at the moment. So So Gerald's got his Q&A working now, so he's given us a question. I understand that only one student can have direct access to control the experiments. Can other students watch and follow?
Yeah, obviously, it's no problem. It's the same as if you had the students present at your lab station. One student will get the hands over the mouse. That person will be performing a couple of experiments in the meanwhile. Other students will be watching from distance.
Watching the same view.
Same view. And right now maybe actually a little bit better, because at least you're not blocked by some other person. Or I mean, everyone has the same view. Everyone can watch it. It's okay.
Okay. What did I want to ask there? So I had a question. So with we're talking before about now things have changed as far as pricing and licenses are concerned, but when it was maybe 2 months ago, we had a look at that was the webinar add-on was for groups more than 100. So
yeah, we have the one for 500 people from Zoom still, and it costs yes, 100. Today morning I checked it one more time. In Europe, it costs €130 for the webinar add-on. But
that was from like up to 99 people or 100 people, I think.
No. The one that we have is
I mean, sorry, that's up to 500. But the step before that, which is only I think €20, €25 or something like that. Again, check that yourself in your country, and the licensing, things are changing almost every day. So it's hard to nail it down with Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve's interested in the switcher and the encoder. How many cameras can be connected to the switcher?
At the moment, the one that we are using now, it's an encoder switcher from Blackmagic Design. It can connect.
Let's do something a little bit interesting while you're talking. I'll turn it around and actually show what that looks like.
Sure. It can connect up to 4 cameras and 2 microphones directly connected into the microphone input, and 4 other microphones through the camera microphone input. So in total, you can connect 6 microphones and 4 cameras.
Okay.
Yeah, but even from the Blackmagic Design, this is the basically the most cost-efficient version of the switcher. You can also have the Pro version of the same thing. It has some more features. You can have the television studio. Yeah, basically, yeah. It all depends on your requirements, how much you want to invest.
This thing has been perfect. I mean,
yeah, for us it's enough.
€300, €400 or something like that. It's, as far as all of this equipment is concerned, that's amazing value. And so, yeah, definitely something worth looking into. Are all of the videos from all of the webinars posted on the YouTube site, LN YouTube site?
So we're working on that. We will be posting the webinar, the complete webinar video onto the YouTube, but not for a long time. So it will be on a private YouTube account, and because we don't want to miss the opportunity for people to join again next time. So it's okay. We will post them, but we have to edit them, and maybe it takes like a couple of days, 2 weeks. We still don't know. We are kind of like,
we've got a pretty big backlog. We've had around, by the end of this month, we'll have 70 of these webinars done. So it's been a big month for us. But definitely they'll be available. It'll be on the YouTube, the Lucas-Nuelle YouTube site, but it won't be public. So, but we will, everyone that's registered for these webinars will be sent a link, and you'll be able to go directly to the videos and check them out.
Absolutely, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay. Just go through the frequently asked questions here, just in case there is anything that we...
Maybe this one.
This one here?
Yeah.
So will the time of use and remote control be limited by some type of condition?
So no, it won't be. So the remote control option, you can let the students just practice, and as long as they want. It won't be limited in any ways.
I'm not sure if that's the case. Zoom, before COVID, was limited to 45 minutes for a free version.
For free version, yes.
Yeah, so then it is limited. But if you get the paid version, then meetings are unlimited time length.
Yes.
Okay, can the student zoom in and zoom out to see the screens and camera image better?
Yeah, we also showed it in the video.
Okay.
You were working on an iPad. You were trying to have some experiments on a UniTrain board, and you were just zooming in and out. It works. Yeah.
You can't control the cameras?
Yeah, you can't, unless you have like some
fancy thing.
Camera with the remotes. Yeah, no, the students can't control the cameras, but they can control the view that they see.
Okay, and I guess something else is the microphones
Exactly.
here is having that interaction between the students and the person in the lab. So, and you're seeing on our equipment there, we had a couple of speakers, so that's all possible to talk with the person. That's definitely required.
Yeah.
And I think you've even put what type of microphones we use.
Yeah, I put every instrument.
Everything that we've used there.
I think the audio quality is much more important than the video quality. If the video quality is good, but there is no audio, the people will be like, I mean, they don't understand anything. But if the video is a little bit like shady or a little bit like not so clear, but the audio is perfect, then it's understandable, then it's okay. I mean, it's as far as I know, the audio is very important for a meeting. Yeah.
And I mean, with all of the different platforms, everything is a compromise. You're unfortunately not going to get HD streaming in real time with interaction. That's something that YouTube Live can do. It's amazing, high definition. But once you start talking interactive and remote control, you might have to expect that the quality does drop at some times. But again, if you're putting a laptop computer with a webcam and using the speaker, to be honest with it, it's going to be a disaster. You do have to put in a little bit of effort with the type of camera and the microphones to do it.
And preferably one that is wireless. You don't want to be bonded to your laptop all the time.
Go to the next piece of equipment.
Yeah.
With the headphones in. Absolutely. Okay, so no more questions here. So I think we'll probably put these FAQs up in the link that we provide a little bit later as well. So yeah, Stella, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we thank you all for joining around the world, and we hope that gives you some options for keeping your students involved and still learning through this COVID future, hopefully not for too much longer, but we hope that helps.
Yes, absolutely. Stay healthy.
Okay, have a great night and a great rest of the day for wherever you are. Thanks.
Bye.